The ultimate deck podcast. Need a show about outdoor living? This is where it's at. With your hosts, Shane Chapman and Way Laurent. Thank you for tuning in. Now let the show begin. Yeah. The ultimate deck podcast. Let's go.
We're back. Wade and Shane, Ultimate Deck Podcast. Back from a round trip to Las Vegas for Deck Expo and
Cowtown.
a home trip to Cow Shit City. We're
It's something. It's really something when you walk into that building.
So I clearly was desensitized to it because we spent a week there. But last night we played hockey at the Cooperator Center, and the guys on my team were like, "How does it still smell like cow shit in here from exhibition last week?" I was like, "I don't smell it," but it's because I was in it for 5-6 days straight.
Well, it was blended with mini donuts.
Yeah, that too.
Right? You walk in and it's day one. It smells like mini donuts and shit.
Yeah.
And then by day 6, all you can smell is the mini donuts.
Yeah. Massive show, that one.
It's a big one.
People from around here wouldn't understand how big of a show it is, but it's a huge, huge show. It takes up the entire, what we call here, the Real District campus, which that campus is, I don't know how many buildings, there's for sure probably 4, 5, 6 trade show halls essentially.
Yeah.
Plus they take up 6 ice rinks worth of that can get converted to trade shows, or 7 maybe, the soccer facility.
And a soccer facility.
And the Regina Pats home arena gets turned into a rodeo arena. It's a big show.
I didn't go to a single rodeo event. I feel like I missed the ball on that one. I didn't do anything.
We didn't go to the rodeo, but we went to the bullfighting one night. They had a bullfighting thing. That was a new thing to the Agribition rodeo thing.
Not real bullfighting.
They weren't stabbing the bulls with daggers, no. But they were jumping over them.
Playing
and they were
trickery?
Stepping aside and stuff. So it was real, other than they didn't kill the bull.
Right.
But they were
Boring.
actually getting there was bulls charging at them. The bulls had horns, and they didn't call them matadors. There was another name. It was longer, but also ended in a door.
Okay.
It's something else. But there was 4 dudes from Spain, 1 dude from France, 2 dudes from the US, and 1 dude from Canada.
Why do they have so many dudes?
In case you run out of them. If a couple of them get gored, you don't want the show's got to go on.
It's just like a dude ranch.
Yeah, and so they it was good. They whatever. They try to get the bull's attention. The bull sees him in his eyes and then starts to run and gallop, and then he starts to really charge, and then he puts his head down, and they just step out of the way.
One fake move, right? Like a juke move to the left.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
And then one step right.
I was like, these guys are all left the second they get a smart bull because they do the same move every time, and the bull falls for it every time. It's just one jab step, as if you're going to do a crossover in basketball. It's one jab step, and the bull bites on that jab step every time.
Every time. So
they jab step and then just whoop, get skinny, and the bull whips the one way and then comes back and misses him by inches, right? Every single time. It's the first bull, it's seen that move before and doesn't bite on it. That guy's going.
Could you imagine? He'd explode him. He'd full
They'd
speed.
No chance. Because he wouldn't even he'd be done for. There was one guy who did get caught. So sometimes they would the bull would charge at him, and instead of stepping aside like you always see matadors do, they would do flips over him. They'd do a flip in the air, and the bull would charge underneath him, and they'd land on the other side of the bull. And it was that was pretty fun.
Yep.
But the one time, I can't remember which guy it was. I think it was the France guy, one of the European dudes. And the bull, he jumped up, did a flip over, and the bull just put the brakes on. He went under, he's nope, and turned around right away and under the guy's ass, lifted him up with his head and his horns and flipped him in the air. And then he lands, and the bull goes down and tries to smash him. All the other guys come around. So that was entertaining. It's I don't really know who you're cheering for in this whole thing. It's
always
we
the
all
bull.
Got pretty excited when the bull got the guy.
Yeah, I think I would always cheer for the bull in that scenario.
Yeah. So, but anyways, Agribition, there's 100,000 people that go through the show. It's a big, big, big show.
It's a big show.
There's a lot of all across Canada, agriculture, farmers and stuff, and then the U.S. as well, and even Europeans that come to the show.
Yeah, certainly.
Show and sell their cattle and whatever else they do. And then there's also, of course, a lot of local people that are just well, there's a giant trade show, and there's all sorts of vendors that are there, not related to, it doesn't have to be related to agriculture or anything. It's just a big show going on. So tons of people. So we go to it because there's tons of people there.
Just an awareness campaign,
Yep.
Just flog the name around.
Shake hands. kiss babies, shake babies, kiss hands, whatever you do.
Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you get them mixed up, you know?
Yeah. But before that, we were down in Las Vegas, Nevada for the 19th
Vegas.
time in a row.
I don't think it was the 19th time in a row, but
Foreshadowing.
it's a lot.
I hear Deck Expo is moving back to Dallas next year, though, which I'm not. We were all like, this needs to go somewhere else. Like, it's too much in Vegas. Too much Vegas lately. Everything's in Vegas. IBS is in Vegas. This is in Vegas. And they're like, sounds good. We're going to Dallas. We're like, not there, though.
I don't know. Like, why not?
I don't know. Everybody just said that the last time I was there was kind of like shitty. It wasn't. There's not a lot.
Yeah, but that was the year after COVID.
Too big or something, right? It's nice when it's in like there's a more centralized, like Nashville. I think everybody can agree that Nashville is a pretty good time.
It was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody was saying that Dallas was no good. But wasn't it in Dallas?
Cold. We didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually couldn't get there. We got like
Canadians didn't go.
So that's why it was no fun. Problem solved.
Finally figured out the answer.
Like we'll be there.
Yeah.
And it'll be fun.
True story.
Like it's been a few places. I never would go to Louisville without Deck Expo.
Truth.
Unlikely that I would ever take my life in my hands and travel to Baltimore without Deck Expo.
Truth.
So whatever, put it in Dallas. Let's go see that city. I'm not going to go there and watch a Stars game, you know. But if Deck Expo is there and the Stars are playing, it's like, well, maybe I'll go to the game.
Yeah. The first one I ever went to was in Chicago, and I wish I would go back there because I would absolutely go spend some more time in Chicago.
Sure,
That's a great city.
I've never been, and that's what it's going to take to get me there.
Who do we got to talk to?
Pops. That's not true.
Then we go see Bedard play.
Yep, let's do it.
Speaking of which.
Did you see that meme I sent you last night? Did you look at it? I think I sent it on Instagram.
Remind me.
Or
I've seen a
Facebook.
lot of them lately.
Well, it's like the same as all the other ones. It's about Corey Perry. It's like
Do you think there's truth to this?
100%. I 100% believe that that's what's happened.
Okay.
And I think what Chicago is now doing is like they're trying to save Bedard. And they're like, Perry, you're out. And you absolutely did bang Bedard's mom. But what we're going to say is that you did something else. And we're going to terminate your contract and you're gone. You got to go. Because Bedard and his mom are going to continue to be in Chicago. They're not getting rid of him, right? Like Bedard's
not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. And his mom is going to stay with him because that's what she's proven to do since he was 15 years old.
He likes his friends.
Right. Loves his friends. And so.
Oh, what a mess up story, though. The poor kid. Like,
all I want to do is play hockey. And then my mom's traveling around banging my teammates. This is not good. So, like, you'll never get the truth out of it. But.
And it'd be one thing if she wasn't married, but it's like.
It's a fire. It's
for him, it's like if she wasn't married,
it's still bad.
Him, it'd be like, that's a pretty shitty thing to do, Mom. But now it's a pretty shitty thing to do and breaking up his family. Like, as the kid's trying to, like, start his. Anyway.
Do you think it'll break the family up?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like,
it might.
I wouldn't stay married to somebody who's playing puck bunny with my kids' hockey team.
Maybe I sent you the wrong meme. It looks like I sent you something else.
Anyway, Las Vegas. We're down there. We avoided the F1 mess. It started on Thursday. We left on Thursday. Great timing. Sounds like it was a pure shit show. But that's what we're talking about. For those
pretty cool, though, when we rode in the Uber and we actually drove right down the strip.
Real fast.
Well, and like it was all caged in and the ads were on the side. Like, that was pretty cool.
The lights were on and everything. Yeah, it's kind of neat.
So
did you watch any of it?
No.
So I remember falling asleep on the couch that Saturday night when the actual race was going to be on. Like,
okay,
I fell asleep on the couch, woke up, and it was on. I was like, oh. And all I wanted to do is wake up long enough and watch it long enough to see them go through the DHL advertised section of the track because I knew that that's where we drove.
Yeah.
It like wouldn't matter at all, but it's like, well, that's the part that we drove down. But I did watch it long enough, like just before the race started, and then I fell asleep. So I like leading up to the race, they're all down in like the pit area, or whatever. Yeah. And it's just packed with people. And whoever was watching was like a Sky Sports guy, like old dude walking around. And he's just walking around interviewing random celebrities. Because down there's like all the drivers, all their handlers, whatever, and then just like celebrities who are just allowed to be there or whatever. So this guy's just walking around. He's like, oh, yeah, I think that's Shaquille O'Neal. We're going, you think that's, it's Shaq. So you go interview Shaq on the spot, right? Or he'd like, more like he'd be like, can we get an interview with Shaq? Can we get an interview with his handlers or whatever? And like, Shaq would ignore him for a minute. And it's just bad TV, but it's just like,
Right.
it was just people's appetite for just
Fame.
giving a shit what a celebrity might think. Like,
Yeah.
anyways, and it's like, oh, there's Shaun White, the snowboarder. Hey, what do you think about it? Like, who cares what Shaun White thinks about this race? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
But
Talk to the guy that like sucked the pothole cover into his car and blew his car up.
Yeah.
I want to talk to that guy.
exactly.
All right, so you got a $7 million car that's now a paperweight.
Yeah.
How do you feel about being in Vegas?
But it was a little bit weird. And then they talked to what's the why I forget his name now. What's the DJ? The
Marshmallow.
no, the DJ with the long hair, like the Asian dude, mustache, long hair.
Nope.
I forget his name right now. But anyways, he played the club that you went to the night before.
Oh, Omnia.
Yeah. So the reporter guy was like, "You were just DJing in Omnia like last night. How'd that go?" And anyway, Vegas Deck Expo. So the show continues to be 85% hot tubs, pools, and patio. Not even patios. Hot tubs and pools, and pool chemicals. But the 15% or 20% of the show that was deck focused, that guy, yep,
Steve Aoki.
yep, he performed there. The 20% that was deck related was quite good this year, relative to the last couple of years.
You know why I think it was better?
Why? Because everybody was there.
Everybody was there. So
we were there.
I told our Trex rep this. If the three big composite guys show up, the show is better. That's it. Because
100%.
it brings all of the contractors in, and then they are there and the contractors are there, and it's just a better show.
I just feel like it takes away from the show if they're not there. If they are there, it's status quo. It doesn't add anything for them to be there, but it sure takes something away if they're not there.
Yeah.
That's my opinion of it. Because it's like you walk into like what's supposed to be what's coined as or like called Deck Expo should be the industry show, and then the top dogs don't bother. It's kind of like, well, is this show not
Right.
it's kind of shitty then?
Do
or
we
what?
not matter to you?
It's like, but if they are there, it's like, well, you're supposed to be there.
You're supposed to be there.
And they should be there.
What I don't like is when they don't attend the show and then they show up and just walk around and try and pull people away.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's slimy.
Yeah, either you value the show or you don't.
Right.
As a industry partner, you should be.
And they all walk around
Sure.
banging on their chests about how big their expenses are. And they're like, oh yeah, we're the $1 billion company and our stocks are like, shut up. You didn't even put a 10x10 booth in. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not going to invest in it, then don't come here.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, but the show is so expensive. It's like airfare and hotels. And it's like, well, you did all that. You just didn't do the cheap part.
Yeah.
Right? So
Well, I don't know. I heard that the booths there, like, it's crazy expensive, that Las Vegas Convention Center, union fees and all this other stuff. And it's just like, you pay the same square foot price at a little show like that as you do at like IBS. Rumor has it. I don't know
Wow,
if
that's
true,
a
but
lot.
like they said it was expensive to be there.
well, so then just do like I said, do a smaller booth.
But then they go spend that same money like going and schmoozing contractors somewhere
Yeah.
anyway. So
Go-karts and NASCAR. That's fun. But like years ago when TimberTech and Trex did those booths across from each other,
at IBS.
that was so silly. Like, what a
was
colossal
so awesome.
waste of cash that was, right?
That was deadly.
Like, it was cool that they were across each other and that they were competing, but it was like,
I agree. Dumb
that's
money.
that's dumb money.
Yeah.
So put your 10x10 or whatever, 10x20 or 20x20 booth in, showcase some of your new stuff, put as many of your reps there as you're comfortable with, and like, because the contractors are coming from everywhere.
So,
Shake some hands.
like, we said the big dogs, but TimberTech wasn't there. They were just there with structure, a structure
Well,
display.
but
Did they have their decking?
Yeah, they had their
like, it was on the
framing there
floor,
as
but
well,
were they
too,
showing
remember?
it all?
I don't think they had all
It
of
was
it.
a very structure-focused booth.
Right, but they also had their framing there, the
Like
aluminum
like
framing.
a little tiny, like 2x2 display.
Sure. But they were there. The reps were there.
The TimberTech people
and
were there.
they can get away with that because they own the structure company.
Yeah.
And so it was like the reps were there and they're selling the structure and they're selling some deck boards and they had some framing and like,
Yeah.
if you were a giant TimberTech installer, you were able to get to TimberTech people to talk to them.
Fair enough.
Anyways, so
So-
it's good. I'm glad that those guys were there because that show was better with them.
Yes. The complaint we've had the last couple years, maybe even since pre-COVID, is that the show itself has been kind of like hit and miss, and like some of the big guys are missing, and you're not seeing a bunch of new product when you go there. You're like, they tended to keep that for IBS. And so it was like, well, why do you go to the show? It's like kind of just for like the networking and stuff. You're not like, you're going to see products, yes, but you kind of always go and then feel a little bit disappointed that you never really saw anything new. This year, I feel like was a little bit different. There was some new stuff.
There's some new
there
product there today. Not today.
So that 15 minutes in is actually what we're going to talk about today. Is what like the new things that we saw.
Yeah,
they might not have been brand new, but it was maybe the first time seeing it in person or something. But so we made a quick list here of the things that we're going to run through. So first one, outdoor living aluminum framing.
Outdoor,
not new. They've been around for a long time in Australia. They've been the last couple IBSs and Deck Expos and stuff. But they had a display there again, and it's gaining traction. They now have their partnership with Dr. Dex, which is pretty fresh. So they were there, and they had by far the biggest and pretty much the only alternative framing display there. Owens Corning was not there with composite lumber. They were walking around, like we just said. TimberTech was there, but had a little tiny little display, like 2x2 display sitting on the edge of their booth. It was like hardly anything. Sorry, Fortress was there for sure with their standard display too. So I guess them and Outdoor.
Yeah, and Fortress didn't stand out because they're like multiple shows, flogging the same product.
Yep.
It's and slight revisions. Like their products are the same as the last show.
Yep.
And great.
But Outdoor, if you haven't seen it, is it's a pretty slick little aluminum frame system that is very modular. So you can use the same components for the most part, but you can top it with a variety of different things, whether it's composite deck boards or artificial turf or tiles or hardwood decking, and it's using all the same thing, and it's all very much clicks together, and it's like a full system.
Yeah, and you're able to have like 2x6 and 2x8 click together. You know what I mean? Like the different heights of the framing members we're able to join them together. So that's like, it's a cool system. Like when you first look at it,
Daunting.
Yeah. It's like, well, this doesn't make sense. And I'm not sure how it would all go together. But once you spend some time there, it's actually pretty cool.
Yep. We learned that at IBS last year because it was like we went to go check it out. And it was like standing there looking at it, it looks very almost complicated because
Like
even
mechanics, right?
Yeah, all the joists aren't like just like tube steel or tube aluminum or anything like you normally would see. It's all like profiled and channeled aluminum stuff. Like it's got a lot of whatever you want to call it, like almost like dados is kind of on the side of it. And it's like, what the hell is going on here? And it's like, and then when they're showing, they're like, it can do this and this and this and this. And you're like, holy shit, slow down. Like, how do I build a deck? Like a normal deck. And then if you give them 10 or 15 minutes to walk you through how it all works and clicks together, by the end of it, you're like, well, that's slick as shit. Yeah. It's actually really slick.
Yeah.
It just takes a little bit of education to understand how it all works.
I was just in a bunch of meetings in the last couple of days with WRLA, and one of the things we were talking about is how our education programs we've scaled it way back to what's called construction terminology is one of the courses we're offering. And so, like you're saying, when you show up at Outdoor's booth, they start to talk to you like you're at level 5, but we're standing there looking at it being like, level 0, I understand nothing. I need you to bring this all the way back down and explain it from 0, right? And so,
because it's also an Australian company, so there's some stuff that gets lost in terminology, even if you're speaking the same language. So it's like, this is a new system. It doesn't go together exactly like a wood frame deck. It's a little bit different. Yeah. But then there's also like their words they use for certain things, like, I don't know, noggins and whatever and shit like that. It's like, okay, we don't use those words too much. But anyway, so really interesting system. It's one of the alternative framing methods or framing solutions coming to market. I believe they have some deals in the U.S. now that they're finalizing. It seems like
they're putting some stuff in the U.S. Canada's still a bit of a struggle.
Yeah. So, and that's fine. Like they should just focus on
like as much as I want it up here, it'd be great to have it up here. But
if you're limited by resources, and they are, because it's the owners who are at every show. That's how you know.
I know.
At every booth, every show, all the time. So they don't have all the resources in the world. Yeah. I'm not saying they're poor and don't have resources. Just that it's like if you have to put your effort in one market,
even if your resource is just time. Yeah. Right. Put your time into the bigger population. Yeah. Spend all your time in Northeast U.S. Move on.
So interesting system. Go to the website. They have a pretty cool little builder stuff there. You can learn a bit more about it, or you can see it, I'm sure, at IBS here coming up in the next couple months in February.
February 27th.
Imagine they'll be there.
They should be.
The next thing was more of a trend that we kind of noticed with PVC decking. happening now from a couple vendors.
Yeah. So this is super interesting, and no doubt OC is behind this.
Yep.
And it's not maybe OC has no part in this, but people have realized what they're doing with fiberglass, and now they're doing it too.
Yep. Yeah. So 2 vendors there had PVC deck boards that they now have, what do you want to call it? Like ribbons or layers of fiberglass within the core of the deck board.
Yeah,
That's apparently to add strength and to limit
reduce
thermal expansion.
Yeah.
And contraction. And so Everlast was there, and so was Moisture Shield, which was a bit of a surprise. We didn't, not that they were there, but that they had a new deck board out, and it was a PVC deck board. Because Moisture Shield's been all composite all day, all ever.
We got the best core, and you can put it underwater.
To the point, like, they didn't even used to like making capped composite. They finally gave into that 6 years ago. But for a long time, they were holding true to like the original uncapped composite. So they launched a PVC board at the show there, and
Super cool.
it was pretty brand new. It was like the reps there were like, we just found out about this, just got this display in. Like,
Yeah.
Can span 24 inches on center on a PVC deck board. Don't know that you would. You could.
Yeah, because they were like, "What do you think of that?" I was like, "I don't think that was worth
This
it."
is where real life experience actually matters, because the reps there, and to no fault of their own, they're told the tidbits from the marketing team, whatever, like, hey, you can span 24 inch center, and then they had a display there. It was like span 24 inches, and another spot it was span 60 inches. And they're like, it's strong enough, you can do 24 inches, no problem, all day long. And I was like, can you though? Like, I understand it's not going to break, but is it going to feel right to the homeowner?
It certainly deflected a lot.
Because when you stood on it, you could see it bouncing a little bit inside. No sun.
No sun.
So the second that thing gets hot and sun,
And no heat.
and no heat. So yes, you can. Should you? Probably not. But you could do it at 16 and be 100% confident at 16-inch sun center, which you normally wouldn't do with PVC. You'd go to
Correct.
12 for optimum feel.
Yeah.
With this stuff, you can still do 16s.
So, and I do think that messaging will work fairly well for them. So 2 foot on center does work really good for dock application.
Yeah.
And so if you tell a homeowner, it's like, listen, we're going to do this PVC board and it can go 2 foot on center. So your dock is going to be 2 foot on center. It's just going to be a little spongy underfoot. It's not going to break though.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, okay. Well, that's great. Because when you haul your dock in and out of the water, you want it to be light. So 3 framing members instead of 4 certainly helps, right?
It's part of it, yeah. And a lot of the, like, not if you're building docks like Jason Varney, but if you're building a dock like normal human beings, like not even building a dock, just assembling a pre-made dock.
Yeah. Anything in the northern part of the hemisphere, right?
Right. It's all plastic and aluminum tube framing already, and the floor of it, or the grating that you put on, is super flexible now. So it's like people are already used to docks, unless they're made out of wood. They're used to them being super flexible anyway.
Yeah.
This would be more stiff. So anyways, interesting products from both. So Moisture Shields, in my opinion, looked very, very similar to the Meridian line. The colors and everything looked very Meridian-like.
Yep.
So I think they had, 2 colors that they were showing there?
That I saw.
I think they were launching more, and so just kind of like linear graining, really nice looking stuff, but not the kind of look you haven't seen before. Like, it's the look of it was no different. It was the technology in it.
I don't think that exactly. That's a great description. Yeah. You don't look at it and be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What was that? It's just like, well, that's a PVC deck board. I can tell that from here.
Yeah.
Because that's what they look like, you know?
Exactly.
And so
a fiberglass layer in it that makes it strong. And then another one that you actually did go like, holy shit, look at that. From Everlast.
That one did do that for me.
And so for people who maybe don't know, Everlast has been around for a long time. South African company that manufactures in China and was marketing their decking in North America under the Fortress Building Products name. So
Apex.
All your Fortress products were actually made by Everlast.
Yeah. That
deal has ended. Fortress is no longer in the decking game, and Everlast is now making a move into the North American market under launching their own decking.
Yeah.
And so part of that was a couple changes in product that they're launching this year. One was continuing with Apex, but adding the fiberglass layer to it again to help with expansion, contraction, and probably to add a little bit of strength too. Same look and feel as what the Apex was before. So you can still mix and match old and new if you happen to have that in your yard. But
like, to be honest, I think that look is really good.
There was never anything wrong with the look.
It was never the look that made me not interested in
always
that board.
Really nice looking stuff.
Yeah.
But there were field failures and they may have been small sample sizes, but they didn't have a lot of stuff out there. So when you saw it, you heard about it. But there were some issues with the boards cracking from probably excessive expansion contraction in markets where you have big temperature swings throughout a single day kind of thing.
Correct.
Which is our market. So that's what I was kind of scared us about it. But now this fiberglass layer is supposed to solve those problems. So we'll see. I'm wondering if this is becoming like the next generation of how we make PVC decking, because things do kind of, like, at one point capped composites came out and all of a sudden it was like, oh, and then it was working and then it solved some problems. So every manufacturer kind of got in the bandwagon. I'm wondering if fiberglass is going to become that.
Yeah. I always thought that it would be that mineral based move. Like,
you mean Surestone technology?
Like what decorators had done. No, is that what it is now?
I think that's what they're calling it. Surestone. I think it was Surestone. They're not calling it NBC anymore. You can't trademark mineral based composite. So they've given it a trademarkable name now.
Oh, I see.
I'm sure it was Surestone.
Right. So for everybody else in the world,
mineral based composite.
Mineral based, which is what we all know it as.
Yeah.
I thought everything would move towards that, but maybe they couldn't. Maybe.
Yeah,
or maybe the fiberglass option is a little bit less expensive.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what the PVC guys seem to be trying now. So we'll see. But they also launched a new product called Pioneer, their Pioneer line, and this is a photo print. So you've seen photo print products like this before. You saw it with Murite years and years ago when they tried to they launched Murite and then right away pulled it off the market.
Yeah,
just having some issues.
They actually just brought it out to the show and then showed it and then canceled it.
Basically, that's almost what happened. Yeah, and then there's also
Zuri
that's out there right now.
Yeah.
So you're familiar with the look of this.
Yeah.
Apparently, how these guys are manufacturing it is a little bit different. It's printed direct onto the core of the board, is my understanding. So the printing, they basically take a scan of real hardwood wood. Yeah. And then photo print that onto the board. So what you're seeing is a picture of actual wood. But apparently they print it directly onto the core of the board. So there's not two lamination layers, because that's where some of it was failing before, is that you have the core material, then you have a glue layer that adheres the paper film, basically the paper print to that. And then you have another glue layer that's adhering the acrylic cap to that. Yeah. It's like you've got these 3 layers and they all expand and contract at different rates because they're different materials, and then at some point something delaminates, and that's been the problem with this type of technology in the past. These guys have now apparently eliminated one of those layers, no longer a glue layer between the core and the paper. It's just printed direct onto the core and then encapsulated with acrylic, I think, still. Yeah. So they're hoping, I guess, or they maybe not hoping, maybe they know that that's now fixed any problems that these guys had before. So now you got this sweet, realistic looking board that I think also must have had fiberglass in it. Right?
Yeah, it must have.
So pretty interesting stuff from Everlast of all people.
Yeah, I'm super curious to see how that plays out. I want to see what happens with that. You know what I mean? Does it fail? Does it perform well? I'm excited to hear about it. So.
Yeah. And then you have Trex's signature line, which we've not as new. That's been out since last year. You've seen
it. Yeah.
Seen it around. I wouldn't say quite as realistic of a photo print, but it's got a photo print-ish look to it. Yeah. It does have that fused acrylic cap layer on it as well, but it's still using the same core technology as all the other lines of Trex. Still the wood fiber composite core to it, but arguably the nicest looking stuff that Trex has put out thus far too. Lineage is a really nice looking line too, but Signature is probably a step above that. Nice. So some really nice high-end products coming out. Yeah. These are pricey products. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's the right play. You know what I mean? It just seems like everything is so expensive. Every time you talk to somebody, aren't they complaining about the price of gas and the price of groceries? And what the decking guys are doing is making even more expensive decking. Yeah. It's is that the right way to go? Maybe. It must be.
Could be. I don't know that it is. But the only one that seems to go in the other direction right now is decorators.
Yeah.
And but apparently they want to sign exclusive with our competitors, which does not sit well.
Certainly makes it tough for us to be competitive in market.
Pretty
Maybe we could just buy it from our
pretty
competitors.
frustrating when you hear one thing and then something else happens. But
Yeah.
leave that for another day. Another one that we were looking forward to seeing when we got down there. Again, this has been out for years, or they've been like in Australia again. Australia making a big splash at this year's Deck Expo.
Right?
IG Rail. So we were getting pretty, like, what's the word for this? I've been talking to these guys for a couple of years. Like, they've had this product out.
Enamored.
Yeah. I was excited to go see it finally because we were finally able to actually talk about getting it into Canada. That's where the exciting part. So this product's been out for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years probably in Australia. They've been trying to get into the US and then into Canada. And essentially what it is a glass spigot like you all have seen.
No, it's a steel spigot.
A steel spigot 4 glass rail. Similar to like a crystal rail from Regal, but much nicer looking spigot or pod. It's not a pod.
It's not a pod.
And so a much more streamlined spigot holding the glass that does have a light built into it, just like crystal rail, which is really cool. The only knock, so there's 2 knocks against crystal rail. One, the look of the pods. Nobody likes the look of the pods.
I don't think even Regal likes the look of the pods.
Everybody, like lots of people have bought the system they put in their house, but it's in spite of the look of the pods, not because of it. It's because the system itself looks sexy as hell.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Agreed.
I guess I'll have to take the pod because it is what it is. Now there's an option out there, a few options as we found out. That's a normal spigot that people like the look of, typically, that has a light built into it.
Yeah, I would say that the exchange in our stores has always been like, really love that it lights up. Is it possible to get it in that? And then they like gesture and point towards a spigot. In our stores, we have the Bezdan spigots, but that'll change.
Or does this at least come in black? It's like they'll settle for it if
No.
it'll come in black. It's
No.
Like, none of these are options.
We just do this weird silver color. What does that match? Nothing.
So no doubt that IG railing, which used to be called illuminated balustrade in Australia, then it came and it was a Spartan railing for a bit in North America, and now it's IG railing, and I'm sure tomorrow it'll be something else.
Maybe it'll be Bobby Park's rail.
It'll be like lighty, glassy raily.
Like,
But looked really cool, so we're like, let's go check this out. Let's strike up a deal. Let's get this product in. Then we walk into the show. Not first thing, because we actually did the poolside first. We're like, let's get this out of the way.
what a great way to do that.
Yeah, it was. First deck-related booth that we walk across is Vista Rail, who we're already a dealer of. We already deal with Vista Rail. We already
Correct.
stock their stuff.
We currently stock
Easy enough.
their product.
First thing we see, basically IG railing on the on the Vista Rail booth. They have now also done the same thing.
Spigot
And
with a
it's
light.
hard. You can't even really look at it and be like, well, they just ripped off IG railing, because really IG railing just ripped off crystal rail. Just made it nicer looking, but the idea was already existing.
Yep.
But Vista, it's like it is IG railing essentially.
Yeah.
It's just a spigot with a light in it.
And they did like a slightly brighter light.
Brighter light, which I
think
do like.
I think that's a good idea.
I can't remember what they said, that IG railing was a half watt or like maybe a 0.6 watt or something.
I thought it was 0.6 and
I think
1.6.
it's 0.6, yeah. And then theirs is like an extra watt or 1.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
So brighter light in it, which is, I think, probably a good thing, especially if you can dim it. I don't know if you can. But if you have multiple dimming settings, then that's obviously better. So that was really exciting too. We saw that there. Then you go across this.
And they're going to have it in a different color
booth.
too, right? They're going to have it in black as well, black spigots.
Yeah, both will come in stainless steel look or black, like a matte black finish, which is sharp as hell.
Yep. Sign me up.
Then there was some other railing company that I walked by it a few times, never really paid attention to what it was, but it also had a spigot with a light in it. Like, so,
We always stood so close to that booth and we ended up not
I know.
ever going to it.
well, because it showed a bunch of other rails and it really gave off the vibe of like those like Chinese manufactured companies that just show up at these shows, especially IBS, and it's just like they're just showing everything. And it's like,
We can
You're not actually
manufacture
gonna-
everything.
yeah. And so it kind of like, for that reason, I was like, there's no need to talk to these guys because,
And for that reason, I'm out.
Yeah.
But
but it was like we could buy the Vista stuff tomorrow. We have an existing relationship. The IG is like looking and willing and ready to deal, and it's like I didn't feel the need to go talk to this random other one.
Yeah, I also felt like the other one, like, I don't know if this is right or not, but I felt like it looked as if there was more interior stuff there as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like they had like wood railing, you know, they had like the classic ADA rail that you'd attach to it, which would be great because you need that. But Yeah, I know that every time I looked over, I was like, well, those spigots are cool, but then what else is going on over there? Like, and then do I actually want to go over there? Because what if they start to talk to me? And I don't want to talk to them. So.
But this is an example of where less is more. It's like they had too much other stuff at the railing at the booth that was like, what do these guys do? Like, whereas like the IG railing was just IG railing. You're like, that's what they do.
Yeah.
We talked to them and they were busy, their booth.
Yeah.
So cool, new railing, form factor or like style coming out.
Yeah. I think that'll be really good. I
can tell you right now that Crystal, like
I
Regal's
think
in trouble with that.
I think Regal better, they better be scrambling.
So I'm shocked they haven't done it yet. Because like I said, illuminated balustrade has been kicking tires for 3 or 4 years. Regal's had plenty of time to look at this and be like, we should probably improve the look of our pod.
What's going to happen is they're going to get the shit beat out of them this year on that sale because Vista is a direct competitor right in their market.
Yeah. And
they're going to lose market share. That is absolutely going to happen.
Like I've got stock.
And
we
I
have
know
stock.
that anecdotally.
Yeah. We have stock of Crystal Rail.
You want me to say it for you? Crystal Rail.
There we go. That one. We have stock of it right now. I don't know how much. I feel like we just did a job of it and it's maybe we don't have lots. But it's like, even if I've got 20 pods down there, I'm kind of worried about them. Because once this other stuff shows up, what's the
appeal?
What's the appeal of the look of the Crystal Rail system?
Well, like if you're into spaceships and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's
not only that, but it's a single light color on Crystal Rail, that's okay. That doesn't bother me a whole bunch. But if you could have multiple lights, why wouldn't you? Like, if given the option.
Like, and so just a couple years ago, Regal came out with step lights, and they're like, yeah, we got, like, they're RGB. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, that's great. And they're like, but individual. You buy
R SKU, G SKU, B SKU.
It was like, what? Come on. And,
Yeah,
no, you didn't. And they're like, yeah, that's what it is. And it's like, okay.
A little bit weird.
It's so weird. So anyways, it'll be super fascinating to see what Regal does next year because they will
do something with Crystal Rail.
They will have to do something with Crystal Rail because they're about to lose a bunch of it.
Haven't seen it in the plans for 2024, but you're right. I think 1 year of these other products being marketed, it's like, okay, so
there it is.
25%
drop in market share.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be a tough sell. Not because I don't like the system, but it's just like, they are completely equal, other than the look of the pod, check towards not Crystal Rail.
Yep.
And one does multicolor lights, check towards not Crystal Rail again. Yep. It doesn't have any checks. It doesn't win anywhere. It ties in a lot of areas. It doesn't have any wins.
Quick distribution.
So,
anyways. Okay.
Camo wedge. I like another odd one to not be there because Camo usually always has a booth at all these events, but wasn't there with the booth this year. But they did send a couple guys to walk around and like throw clips at people.
So and it doesn't make sense to me why they wouldn't be there because they offer so many different fastening solutions for decks.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, they have structural screws that they've been flogging for the last couple of years, trying to replace some of the Simpson stuff and trying to replace some of the GRKs and whatever. Just like poof, gone.
Yeah.
It's like fastening down wood decks. Lots and lots of decks are built out of wood. Still, that's like the lion's share of decks. No.
Yeah. I don't know why they decided to not go on it this year.
Strange. Maybe Greg had a holiday he had to go on instead.
Maybe. But they were walking around with bags full of camo wedge clips, which is the new X clip.
This is a great improvement.
It is an improvement.
That wedge clip is much better than the X clip. Yeah. It becomes a single hand install process.
Yeah, that was a problem with the X clip before, is that you needed 4 fingers, like 2 thumbs and 2 index fingers.
Yep.
Which you're after right from the get-go.
Like not everybody has that.
You appreciate this upgrade in technology more than anybody.
Yep.
But yeah, you had to squeeze it, and that was fine, but it was never as convenient as the regular edge clip that you could one hand. You grab it by the head of the screw, slip it over the joist, slide it in with one hand, and then you can keep your other hand free.
Be efficient.
X clips, you had to use both hands, so you got to set your drill down, or you got to, whatever, you're just occupied both hands. You don't have to, why would you?
Yeah. Even the idea of like digging into your pouch to get another clip for the next joint, like it's just over.
Yeah.
Your efficiency's down.
And when it's cold out, like
gloves,
you have gloves on, you can't really do the X clip, and you don't want just like the more you squeeze your fingers and squeeze the blood out of them, the colder they get. Yep. So there were some drawbacks to that X clip. It was a great solution for what it was for a while, but they certainly improved on it. And I actually think it's nearly identical to what we saw from Wolf last year. Wolf had a clip that was being manufactured that was like really, I wish I had one in my hand to compare, because I think it was almost identical. Very, very similar anyway.
Well, we could get one, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so now it's, I don't know how to explain it, but you kind of like, you put it in like you tilt the clip in. It's got two little prongs down below that you put in the groove first, and you lift it up.
Like it's a lot like a TCG clip.
Yeah, kind of the way you got to angle it. TCG, you would go up and then down, and this thing is up and down too.
No, I thought it was down
and then up.
I thought
something.
I thought you were like your screw was parallel with the joist.
There's a box up like 8 feet from us.
Too far away.
Anyways, you angle it in and it goes into the groove and holds itself in place.
Yeah, like I think the screw is parallel with the joist, and then you push it in and then lift the screw to 90.
Right. So that's how that kind of works. It'll work a little bit better. They're even thinking that like this might overtake the camo edge clip itself, because if you don't need anything to grab around the joist, if this works, then you don't need the joist grabber functionality.
Yep.
And then you never have to worry about buying 2 sets of clips. You don't have to worry about like camo edge for most of the deck, and then these wedges or X clips for where there's blocking and where you're diagonal, whatever else. You just have one clip then.
Yep.
But they said that they're basically going to go to market, like leave camo edge clip in market, bring wedge clip out, sunset X clip, see how wedge versus edge performs.
Yeah.
Wedge versus edge.
Yeah.
And if wedge takes off and people are switching to it, then eventually they'll probably let
sunset
edge go, and they'll just move to the wedge clip completely.
Yeah.
So not opposed to that. A good little clip. The only knock on it that I could see,
they didn't have a booth there.
is that they didn't have a booth there. So no, there's a couple more pros too before I get to that. I'll say the knock first. The knock for me is that it's not as wide as the joist, so it doesn't block the joist out anymore. If you're taping your joist or using metal framing, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if you're not, one nice feature about the little horseshoe grabber and the wedge clip, or the X clip for that matter, is that they were wide enough to cover the joist, so you didn't see the wood color between your joists. I know it sounds stupid, but some people don't like that. And
if you see it, you see it.
It was a pro to have it blacked out.
Yep.
It makes the whole clip be more hidden when everything's black, not like bright wood color and then black in the middle of it.
Yep.
So that is one step back, but like the improvements are much better. The other improvements they made, arguably, so they switched to a 316 stainless steel, a better, higher quality stainless steel. I don't know if the other ones were 305 or what, but I know they told us like it's a better stainless steel now because they had some issues with them snapping. It's like a more malleable stainless steel now.
Yeah,
higher quality stainless steel screws. That's great. The screw is shorter, and
that's good.
I think people questioned if that was a good thing or not because you have less embedment. But where I realized the other day that it actually is a benefit is that it will no longer puncture through a 2x2 decker or sleeper
systems,
or a 2x4 or sleeper. And so the depth of the drive is better for that reason.
Correct. And if you have infinite depth, if you can go with a 2x10, then you can use the longer screws from the edge clips.
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever we did a sleeper system, it was very frustrating. It was like, take these clips, but then remove the screw and then buy these other screws and then put those in. And it was like,
And if you're getting an 1 3/8 of embedment, like that's quite a bit. Going 1 3/4 is not going to give you a whole, like is it technically more power, like more stronger hold? Technically, but you're achieving everything you need to achieve when you hit 1 3/8 anyway.
That's right. That's what I've told people.
Right. So interesting development from the camo edge clip, the new wedge clip. So cool.
Yeah.
Last thing we'll talk about, at least, unless you thought of anything else we saw, but the Fasten Master Evo Joist to Ledger Connector, also known as a joist hanger.
Joist hanger.
Really fancy name, though. So this joist hanger now is plastic. So I guess good, because it doesn't, like there's no corrodability. Is that a word? It will not corrode. Doesn't have to be galvanized.
Not susceptible to corrosion.
Sure. And so this thing is like, it's a pretty fancy deal, but it's like, it's a joist hanger that like almost
like it also has a little tab that sits on top of the ledger. So it makes sure that your joist is flush with the ledger every time.
Yeah. It's almost a sleeve. That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
It's almost a sleeve that goes over the joist.
I think it is.
Like it
sleeve,
covers
actually.
it all 4 sides. You know, a hanger, like the joist sits in like onto the hanger.
3-sided.
And this thing was like, it went all 4 sides around it. And yeah, to your point, has a little ledger catcher. So without any thinking, you put this thing on, you put the joist hanger on the joist first, and then you take the joist to the ledger and set it on it. And that little protrusion makes sure that your boards are all perfectly flush with the top of the ledger.
Yeah.
And you can just like temporarily hang them there before you have to put a fastener in or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and the other cool thing is it's a 2-part sliding hanger. So it's one skew can fit, I don't know
2x8 or 2x10.
Okay. It wasn't like that was the range, 2x8 to 2x10. So it can fit either of those things. So you just slide it to the height you need, hug the joist.
Yeah.
Was there you put a couple screws in first, and then you hang it, and then you drive 2 essentially timber lock screws.
Yes.
On each side, like long screws that basically crisscross behind the ledger, and it's like, seems like a super strong connection. Pricey if you're going to compare them 1-to-1 with a Simpson LUS 28 or 210-Z joist hanger. I said Z. That's another Canadian thing. Hey?
Z. They say Z.
So I don't remember what that guy said, but like, am I crazy in saying that he might have said it was like $20 a hanger?
No, that's too much. It was that much for
Is
a
it?
box.
So like
It's for a 2x8 or a 2x10 joist.
$7 or $8 a hanger?
Yeah.
Like it was multiples more than a regular hanger.
Yeah, it was that. It was like $20 for a box.
Okay. And a box had
6 or something.
2.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. But I remember
like that's impossible to actually give a proper number on that because it's going to be market dependent. But at the same time, it's like,
but you can give a rough multiplier.
Right.
Like we're talking about $1.50 for a regular hanger. Like
right. A regular hanger, $1. Evo joist
I
hanger.
feel like this thing is like at least $7 or $8.
I thought it was, yeah.
And the reason I know it was a lot more is because he didn't initially give a price for hanger. He's like, on the overall, on a whole deck it's like 20 grand. It'll be like an extra like $120. Okay. So per hanger didn't look so shit hot on the comparison chart, I guess, huh? But it's like in that context, like, yeah, it's not a whole bunch more. If you can claim that it's going to make your work either more efficient or more accurate or something, then
stronger.
Then you might go for it.
Do you think it would be stronger? Do you think that the all-around system is a better?
I don't think it'd be any less strong. I think it'd be like the size of those screws you're driving in there. You're basically attaching that thing with 4 structural screws, like rugged structural screws, not just like 4 SD Simpson Sure Drive strong drive screws, like little tiny guys. These are big, beefy screws.
Yeah.
Do you want to go through this and do like is it going to go or is it not going to go on each of these things now? Before I give that opinion?
Yeah, I did in my head.
So outdoor framing, is it still around in 10 years?
Nope.
Gone. Lose out to somebody else? Another alternative framing?
I don't know. Somebody might buy them. They might change and evolve, but
I think they're up. I think they're up against it. I agree. That's tough to see. It's a
here's
great product.
Here's the reason. I actually think that a lot of the alternative framing will be gone.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's great on Instagram. And I think everybody wants to be on this movement, but I don't think it's sustainable as far as price wise. It's way more sustainable than wood because it's all recycled material and it's super green and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But man, it's so expensive. Every single board that we talked about today would retail in our store for $14 a foot. So you're not going to take $14 a foot board and put it on $15 a square foot framing material. Like you just can't.
$30 a square foot.
Just the material. Just like where does the money come from? Who's going to do all of this?
Yeah. So you think that whole category is in trouble? I think it'll be around. I
just don't think it takes off
just
like everybody
it
carries
won't.
on.
It's
like
not. It's never going to be mass market because of that reason, the price.
Yeah,
and you can't even say like in some industries when there's new products, it's like, well, at some point they'll achieve economies of scale and like it'll be mass produced and the costs will come down. It's like, okay, but that didn't ever like it did happen with composite decking, but it didn't get to wood, and nor will this stuff.
It can't.
Nor will aluminum or steel or composite. I think there'll still be a market for it, but
I don't know what happens there.
You know what I mean? Like steel stud framing, for example, comes out, and it's not even that much. It's not even that much of a multiplier over wood stud framing. But wood stud framing is not going anywhere, and the same for decks. And there's even a bigger gap in price. So it's like it's not going to replace it. Yeah, absolutely not.
I can't.
There was a guy who posted in the Facebook groups the other day, and he's like, he had just gotten back from Deck Expo. He's like, I can tell you this new alternative framing methods. I'm going to tell you there's going to be no such thing as pressure treated lumber in about 3 years from now. And like,
holy,
I was like, no chance, 0 chance. This is always going to be a niche market. It's too expensive. He's like, no, you don't understand. I was like, I fully understand. I'm sitting on a truckload of it for 2.5 years. Like, But then everybody else jumped in like, yeah, dude, like wood's not going anywhere.
It
This
won't.
this will make some inroads, but wood's not going anywhere.
Okay, so outdoor, like the people in that company are fantastic. I really like them. We went for drinks with them.
Yeah.
You know, we hung out with them a couple of times. I really enjoy them, and I hope they have all
Great
the success
people.
in the world. Right? I'm not saying like don't.
Great
Support
people,
them.
great marketing, great product. If it doesn't go anywhere, it's not because it's not like good people and a good product.
Yeah.
It's just it's a tough gig, and you're going up against some pretty big players that are trying to like. There's
Your competition is big,
loaded.
and your your product doesn't make sense. Like, I don't look at it and make sense of it
And that's-
immediately.
yeah.
It requires some explanation.
That's
And it's
where
like,
OC Lumber has a huge advantage.
They got
It's so familiar.
it's just like
It's
it's black
workability is
treated
like-
lumber.
You don't even like workability is the same. Not even like similar. It's like it's the same.
Same. No conversation. You just like
That's stuff. Outdoor, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that they probably do still exist because I think they have a lot of success in Australia and even Europe. They'll still exist there.
sure. And if they can get in,
Whether they can crack North America is to be determined.
and who cares? Like, focus your efforts in Asia.
Yeah,
Poof,
maybe,
see you,
right?
gone.
Fiberglass decking. Well, we won't talk about the specific lines, but the actual fiberglass and a PVC deck board, is that here to stay?
Yeah, you know what? That's like, how do you know? It certainly seems like a great solution.
I think it stays, yeah.
I'm extremely interested to see how it performs in 1 year. If it performs well first year, then hedge your bets.
My thing is, obviously, they've tested it, and obviously, because it would be an added expense and a change in technology, so you're not going to do it unless it worked.
That's not true. People make
You're not going
changes.
to wing it. No, they do make changes, but they would test it and be like, oh, it does actually
Yeah, but
limit
what happened
expansion
with-
contraction.
Like what happened with Apex decking. They obviously tested it and they thought it was a good product and they took it to market and they
100%.
no,
But
it's pure
but
shit.
they obviously didn't test it in those conditions. Now they fixed that problem with the fiberglass,
Yeah.
presumably, tested it to make sure. I'm not saying there might not be new issues,
right.
but I think the issue of the expansion contraction was the point of this. So they
Yeah.
obviously like, shit, that was an issue. Here's the fix. Test. Okay, that's fixed.
Right.
Release it. Boards delaminating because of the fiberglass. Like something else
Yeah,
might
yeah,
come up.
yeah.
Who knows?
So
But
that's what I
that
mean. So that's
might
where
not be
I'm
here.
cautious. I'm just like, give it a year. Let's see what happens like this time next year after we go to Deck Expo. If people have been installing it and the feedback is all good, then I think it's here to stay. If it doesn't create a new issue, which it totally could, that might happen.
You don't know that. Yeah. But the fact that like Owens Corning is doing it, like Slash Wear Deck, and now Moisture Shield is doing it, and now Everlast is doing it. That's a lot of big companies with a lot of R&D dollars that have decided that this is the way to do it now.
They're trying it.
And Wear Deck has been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's not brand new. However, Wear Deck's been sold in precisely nowhere but Florida
Yeah, it was like, that's
since
a
its
pretty
inception. So it's
pretty
like,
safe climate to participate in.
so we'll see. But I think that one does stick around. And if it does perform, then then it obviously, I think at some point starts to make its way into the AZECs of the world and the Paramounts and like Promenades, and Paramount's going to be gone. Paramount won't be here in 10 years, but
No,
won't be
Promenade
here in 2
will, though.
years.
maybe.
IG railing others, pretty, like that's not going anywhere.
Spigots with lights, like the idea of spigots with lights will
Frameless glass, the whole thing is
absolutely
gonna be
stay.
around. Yeah.
Crystal rail will
Oh.
be gone.
Photo print decking. I got away from that. Like as soon as somebody figures out how to do that cost effectively and doesn't fail, that's here to stay.
The iteration that we're seeing right now, though, I don't think it stays. I don't know how it's
Because of price? Or what do you mean?
nobody seems to be able to do it right now.
Yeah. Well,
they're-
this is going to be interesting to see if this.
They're
one
still
goes right.
working through it. It seems right.
Yeah. But they're still doing it because
there's
if you do it, if you get it right, could be a big payoff.
yeah.
Like,
There's
that's a really
obviously
attractive-
people that want it, right?
100%. That's what every faux material manufacturer in anything, their goal is to
Make it-
replicate wood as closely as possible. And this
Yeah.
is this no doubt gets you miles closer to real wood than anything that a normal extruded product does.
Yeah.
So it's not close. Like we love the look of Wolf's Vanity decking and of Trek's lineage and all these other things, but they don't look like wood. You're not
No.
fooling anybody.
No.
This stuff legit looks like wood. So
You know who has done a good job of fooling you to to think that it looks like wood is like the cladding companies, right? The guys that have done these aluminum claddings on the outside of buildings.
Yep.
And that's photo print on aluminum.
And flooring.
And it's working.
Right.
And so if you can get that photo print on wood, maybe there's a chance, right?
Yep.
But
Okay. Camo wedge. That's
uh,
got staying power, I think.
that'll stay. Yep.
And Evo joist.
No.
I don't think so either. It's solving a problem that doesn't really exist.
That's what I think.
They'll argue with me and be like, it does solve problems that exist. It's like, yeah, but I don't think they're serious problems, and not problems that people are willing to spend a bunch more money to do.
5X, 6X.
So I just feel, because honestly, watching the guy put the thing on there was like, well, in the time it took you to do that, I would have had the joist tacked in place, and I would have been like on to the next by now.
Yep.
And I don't want to have to set it on top of the thing and then have a ridge to deal with on that first deck board is tipping. So it's like, it's
happen.
Is it a cool product, a great idea? Yeah. But is it an idea with staying power? I don't think so.
Well, I think my biggest issue would have been the cost of it. My second biggest issue would have been the tab at the ledger. It's like, well, nobody does that. Nobody puts their joist a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch higher than the ledger so that the board can rock. Yeah. So you need to fix that. So anyways.
Especially if you're already dealing with some flashing there you're already sitting up on. Now you got this other tab too.
Yeah.
First board might be pretty cockeyed. But
anyways, well, that's a fun little exercise.
What's your favorite one? If you had to pick one.
The
coolest thing you saw.
The Vista Rail and IG. Spigots with lights.
Agreed. That's the one I'm most personally excited about too. Yeah. It's finally here. I already know it's going to do well. A lot of these other stuff is maybes.
Yeah, I know it's going to do well because we were trying to get it.
Yeah.
And so making it like Vista being able to take it to mass market and IG getting some distribution in the US, they're like so good.
Yeah.
That's going to be so good for them. And I also probably can't double down enough on the idea of IG knowing that product is sold with relationships, and they brought an absolute juggernaut into their company, right? Like they added Bobby Parks. That booth was packed for the whole damn weekend, and it wasn't because of their railing.
Yeah.
Their railing has been around for 3 years and they couldn't sell it. They brought the right guy in, right? And so Bobby will carry that thing across the line for them.
He draws a crowd, that's for sure.
So
every
good.
show. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, well, that's it. IBS is in February this year, so if you didn't get a chance to get to Deck Expo and see these cool things there's
a good chance they'll all still be around in February, so you might as well come see them.
Yeah.
And then let us know if our predictions, if you agree or disagree.
Yeah.
You know?
I think all these guys will probably be at IBS plus others. It's a big show. So if you haven't gone before, check it out. It's a doozy. It's busy. If you don't like crowds, don't go. But if you're interested,
you're never going to guess where it is. Vegas.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. True story. Anyways, that's it for us for this week. We'll see you next week again. Happy weekend or week.
Hey, thank you for listening to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Now you know what we're about. Check the site, come and shop. UltimateDeckShop.com. Hit us right away for sponsorships, or tell us if you want to collaborate. Let's go. Check us out on any social networks. Thank you for listening.